Welcome to the Sky Commander Flight Brief. It's your mission-ready podcast for drone pilot training and aerial insights across Canada.
From Transport Canada rules to real-world drone ops, we break it down, take you higher, and help you earn your wings. Because here at skycommander.ca, we don't just fly.
It hints there's more to it. It's a masterclass, a deeper level, maybe a philosophy or a community focus, perhaps.
It's definitely intriguing, sets them apart from just, a basic tips show. Skycommander.ca is the obvious next step. Precisely. If you're thinking about flying a drone in Canada, boom, this content is aimed right at you.
Powered by skycommander.ca.
The elite podcast for Canada's drone pilot. Okay, let's get started.
So when you think about the skies these days, just how much they're changing with remotely piloted aircraft systems, it really hits you, doesn't it? That clear communication and, safe operations aren't just nice things to have. They're fundamental. We're not just talking about ticking boxes for regulations here. It's really about safety, for everyone involved.
Yeah.
And making smart decisions every single time.
Exactly. Yeah, that's precisely what we're diving into today. We've got these learning resources, and they really cover the essentials for safe and effective RPAS operations.
Okay.
We're going to unpack things like, the specific language you use on the radio, human factors, which are huge, the actual airborne procedures.
Right.
Navigating airspace, and some key bits on aerodynamics and weather, too. Stuff every RPS pilot really needs to know.
Fantastic. And these sources, they cover a lot, don't they? From very specific radio calls to the big picture of flight safety.
They do, yeah. Quite a range.
So our mission here, really, is to kind of distill all that down for you, pull out the most crucial bits, make it clear, make it useful, and hopefully, avoid that feeling of just being completely swamped with information.
Sounds good.
Okay. Let's get into it. Starting with something that sounds simple, but is, foundational: radiotelephony.
Right. And the fascinating thing here is just how vital standardized language is, especially when you're sharing the airspace. Think about it, time-critical moments, clear, unambiguous communication. It can literally be the difference between, a smooth flight and something serious.
Yeah.
That's where this term phraseology comes in. It's the specific set of words, the exact way you use them on the radio.
Right. It's not about sounding fancy. It's about zero chance of being misunderstood. Okay, so let's look at some key phrases. Negative. That's pretty straightforward, just means no.
Yep. Simple and direct.
Then reading you 5 by 5. What's that tell you in a radio check?
Ugh. That's the gold standard response. The first 5 is signal strength strong. The second 5 is clarity, perfectly understandable. So 5 by 5 means loud and clear, perfect transmission.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, something serious, but maybe not immediately life-threatening.
That's when you use pan-pan. It signals urgency, a serious situation, but not quite that immediate grave danger.
Right, so it flags an issue, gets attention, but reserves the absolute highest priority call.
For Mayday. Exactly. You hope you never have to use Mayday. It's strictly for situations with a grave imminent threat to life, a direct call for immediate help.
Understood. Okay, more routine stuff. If ATC or another pilot needs you to wait.
They'll say stand by, means hold on, I'll get back to you. Pretty simple.
And if you miss something they said.
The correct phrase is say again, ask them to repeat their last transmission.
And I remember reading about this, why it's say again and not repeat.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, repeat is used in artillery commands. Using it in aviation could cause, serious confusion in a tense moment.
Huh. That's interesting. See, small detail, big importance for standardization.
Definitely. Okay, what about Roger and Wilco? They sound kind of similar.
They do, but mean very different things. Roger is just a message received. I heard you. I understood. That's it.
Okay.
Wilco is short for will comply. So it means I heard you. I understood. And I'm going to do what you just told me to do.
Okay. Big difference in commitment there.
Huge. And a simple yes is just affirmative.
Affirmative. Got it. Now, any big don'ts, things you should absolutely never say on the radio.
Yes, one classic mistake. Never say over and out together. Over means I'm done talking, waiting for your reply. Out means conversation finished, no reply needed.
So together they just contradict each other.
Exactly. It's not standard.
Yeah.
Sounds unprofessional. Avoid it.
Good tip. Now, who actually gets to transmit? Can any RPAS pilot just hop on the radio?
Not quite. You need to be authorized and trained. In Canada, if you're just listening in, say, outside controlled airspace with basic operations, you don't strictly need a radio license. But it's still good practice to listen.
Right.
But if you're operating in controlled airspace or near manned aircraft, well, having a handheld radio and the proper authorization to transmit using correct phraseology is highly recommended. Crucial even, and definitely monitor the local frequency, ATF or Unicom, usually 122.8 millihertz near uncontrolled aerodromes. You need that awareness.
Makes total sense. Be informed, be responsible, stick to the script, basically.
Okay.
For everyone's safety. All right, let's shift gears. Let's talk about something really critical, whether it's planes or drones. Human factors.
Yeah, this is fascinating stuff because ultimately there's a person making the calls, right, behind the controls. And human factors covers, well, everything, psychological, physical, environmental, that can affect pilot performance. It's a huge contributor to incidents, unfortunately.
And the first thing mentioned here is the MSAFE checklist. Sounds like a really vital pre-flight check, but on yourself.
Absolutely vital. It's the most important self-check, really. MSAFE is an acronym.
Okay, break it down for us.
I is for illness. Are you feeling sick? Any symptoms that could impair you? M is medication. Prescription, over-the-counter, anything that could have side effects affect judgment.
Right, even stuff you wouldn't think about.
S, stress. Any major emotional or psychological stress. Stuff that could distract you or mess with your decision-making. Alcohol, the classic rule, right?
Yeah.
Any alcohol in the last 12 hours or feeling any effects at all.
Okay. F.
Fatigue. This is a big one. Are you properly rested, had enough sleep? Fatigue is insidious.
Yeah, definitely feel that one sometimes. And E.
Eating. Sounds basic, but have you had enough food and water? Proper nutrition and hydration. This whole checklist, it seems simple, but it targets those common, easy-to-overlook factors that can directly lead to errors.
It's powerful. A reminder that the pilot's fitness is just as key as the drone condition. Okay, next up under human factors. Situational awareness. SA. What's that really mean?
Situational awareness.
Yeah.
It's basically your complete understanding of everything happening around your flight, knowing your drone's statics, where you are relative to things, the airspace, the weather current, and forecast anything relevant.
So the whole picture.
Exactly. And crucially, it's also about anticipating potential problems. Having a mental plan for what you do, lack of SA, that leads to missing radio calls, getting surprised by a low battery, not seeing people or obstacles. It's about staying mentally ahead of the aircraft.
Keeping that mental picture updated constantly.
Got it.
Got it. Our sources also flag some common cognitive traps pilots can fall into. Complacency is one. What's that look like?
Complacency. That's when you get a bit too comfortable. Maybe you've done the same flight dozens of times, nothing's gone wrong. So you start skipping steps in the checklist, maybe not scanning the sky as carefully. You get lax because it feels routine.
And the defense against that is?
Discipline. Treat every flight seriously. Stick to your checklists and procedures no matter how routine it feels, every single time.
Makes sense. Resist the urge to cut corners. Okay, what about confirmation bias? I feel like we all do this sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. It's that tendency to look for information that confirms what you already believe or expect, right? And you might ignore or downplay stuff that contradicts it. So if you expect a smooth flight, you might unconsciously dismiss early signs of trouble, weird weather, a small glitch.
So you need to actively look for things that might challenge your assumptions.
Exactly. Be objective. Then there's tunnel vision.
Yeah, getting hyper-focused on one thing and missing everything else.
Precisely. Maybe you're glued to the camera feed or trying to fix one minor issue, and you completely miss a plane entering the area or the wind picking up significantly. Got to keep scanning the whole picture.
Right. Maintain that broad awareness. Stress and fatigue also get called out specifically.
Yeah, we touched on fatigue with MSAFE, but stress itself.
Yeah.
It really messes with your judgment, your focus, your reaction time. When you're stressed, it's just harder to think clearly, make good decisions, react quickly.
And fatigue just slows everything down.
Right. Reduces your situational awareness, makes decision-making sluggish, increases the chance of mistakes. They're a dangerous combination.
And it's interesting that nutrition is specifically in MSAFE. Maybe not the first thing people connect to flying safely.
But it's critical. Low energy from not eating properly, that directly impacts your focus, your concentration, your cognitive function. You're just more likely to make mistakes if you're running on empty.
Okay, so a well-fed, well-rested pilot is definitely a safer pilot. Good stuff. Let's move into the more formal side now. air law and procedures, the actual rules of the sky.
Yep, non-negotiable stuff here. You absolutely have to know this. Let's start basic. Maximum altitude in uncontrolled airspace in Canada.
That's 400 feet above ground level,
Mm-hmm.
AGL. Got to stay below that unless you have specific permissions.
Correct. And what if your radio fails? Is there a code for that?
Yes, squawk code 7600. That signals lost communications.
Primarily for manned aircraft with transponders in controlled airspace, but still good awareness for RPAS pilots operating nearby.
Right. And maybe worth mentioning the other emergency codes briefly.
Sure. 7500 is for hijacking, hopefully never needed. And 7700 is the general emergency code.
Okay, good to know. Now, rules about flying near people. That's a big safety concern.
Huge. Under basic operations, you need to stay at least 30 meters, about 100 feet horizontally away from bystanders, unless you have an advanced certificate and a drone that meets higher safety standards. Then you can get closer, but still generally not directly over people without specific permission.
Okay, that 30-meter rule is key for basic ops. And identifying your drone.
Yes, if your drone is between 250 grams and 25 kilograms, a small RPA in Canada, it has to be registered with Transport Canada. And that registration number needs to be clearly marked on the outside of the drone, visible.
But not for the tiny ones, under 250 grams.
Correct. Micro drones are currently exempt from registration.
Got it. What about flying at night? Any special requirements?
Definitely. You need position lights on your drone that meet the standards in the Canadian aviation regulations, the CARSARs. Makes your drone visible in the dark.
Essential for safety. Makes sense. And for the really complex stuff like flying beyond visual line of sight, BVLOS.
That almost always needs a Special Flight Operations Certificate, an SFOC. Transport Canada reviews those case by case. You need a very detailed safety plan showing how you'll manage the extra risks.
Right, a lot more involved. The term aerodrome also comes up. It's not just big airports, is it?
Not at all. It's basically any defined area, land or water, used for aircraft arrival, departure, or movement. So yeah, big airports, small airstrips, helipads, waterdromes. That's the broad term.
Okay. And for every single flight, what's one mandatory piece of kit?
The ground control station,
Ah.
the GCS, your controller, basically. You need that for every flight.
And who's ultimately responsible for the flight's safety? Legally.
The pilot. Always the pilot operating the drone at the time. That responsibility can't be passed off.
Good to remember. And commercial air service, what does that cover for drones?
It's any use of an aircraft, including a drone for hire or reward. So photography, surveying, inspections. If you're getting paid, it's likely a commercial operation under the rules.
Right. Okay, one last crucial scenario. What happens if you lose the connection to your drone? The lost link.
Yeah, the dreaded lost link. Right. Thankfully, most modern drones have an automatic return to home function, RTH. It should kick in, fly the drone back to where it took off. Important things. It usually stops transmitting its position, might climb to a safe altitude, and might reduce throttle automatically. It follows its programming.
Okay, that RTH is a vital safety feature. Phew, that was a lot of key legal and procedural stuff. Let's shift focus upwards now. Think about the airspace itself and how we navigate it.
Absolutely fundamental. Understanding airspace classes, navigation.
Yeah. Sources mention 7 VTA charts for Canada. What are VTAs used for?
VTA stands for VFR Terminal Area Charts. They're super detailed maps for areas around busy airports. They show airspace boundaries, classes, frequencies, obstacles, landmarks, essential for flying safely near controlled airspace.
Gotcha. Detailed maps for busy zones. And globally, how do we define the starting point for longitude?
That's the prime meridian, 0 degrees longitude. Runs through Greenwich, England by international agreement. All right, the baseline. Now, airspace classes have different rules. What about Class C? What do you need to fly in RPAS in there?
For Class C, you need prior clearance from Air Traffic Control, ATC.
Yeah.
And the pilot needs an Advanced Operations Certificate.
Okay, strict requirements. And near uncontrolled aerodromes. We mentioned monitoring a frequency.
Right, the ATF Aerodrome Traffic Frequency, or UNICOM.
It's used in mandatory frequency areas around uncontrolled fields. Pilots broadcast their position and intentions. It's like a party line for planes to keep track of each other.
Self-announcing to stay safe. Good system. What if you encounter an emergency scene? Police, fire, ambulance activity.
Stay clear. Absolutely do not fly over or inside the security perimeter set up around an emergency response. Unless you've got explicit permission from whoever's in charge of the scene. Even with an advanced certificate, stay out. First responders need clear airspace.
Crucial point. Give them space. The return to home function, again, seems like such a key safety net.
It really is. Its main job is that automated recovery if the control link drops. brings the drone back towards home, minimizes the risk of it just flying off uncontrolled or causing a hazard somewhere else.
Like a digital leash, almost. And just like planes need fuel, drones need power. Basic pre-flight check.
Always check your battery level before you fly. Make sure you have enough power for the whole planned flight, plus some reserve. Running out of juice midair is a recipe for disaster. Forced landing, maybe losing the drone.
Don't want that. And pilots need to stay current, right? Keep their knowledge up.
Yes, there are recency requirements every 24 months in Canada. You usually need to do some flying or complete some recurrent training to show you're still proficient and knowledgeable.
Keeps everyone sharp. And who's the operator legally?
The operator is basically the person who owns, leases, or has possession and control of the drone at that time.
Okay. Last one for this section. You're cleared into Class B or C airspace. Then you lose radio comms.
Oh.
What do you do?
Okay. Critical procedure. If you have clearance and lose radio, you follow your last received clearance route altitude and squawk 7600 on your transponder if you have one. But if you haven't received clearance yet, or you lose comms while entering Class C without clearance, you must exit that controlled airspace immediately. Get out, land safely if possible.
Big difference depending on whether you were cleared or not.
Okay.
That covers airspace and nav pretty well. Let's wrap up this deep dive by looking at the forces of flight and the weather aerodynamics and meteorology basics.
Yeah, understanding how your drone actually flies and how the atmosphere affects it, essential for safe decisions. Let's start with the hazard, icing. What's the main problem ice causes on an aircraft?
It basically wrecks the aerodynamics. Ice builds up, disrupts the smooth airflow over the wings and control surfaces, reduces lift, increases drag, can lead to loss of control pretty quickly. Bad news.
Very bad news. Okay, air movement. Those bumpy convective currents, thermals. What causes them?
Uneven heating of the ground, mostly, especially on hot, calm afternoons.
The ground heats the air above it unevenly, warmer air rises, creates those updrafts, or thermals, most active when it's hottest and winds are light.
Right, the invisible bumps. What about air currents caused by terrain, like hills or mountains?
That's orographic lift. Wind hits a slope, gets forced upwards on the windward side. On the downwind side, the leeward side, you can get mountain waves, oscillating air, potentially lots of turbulence, can extend quite far downwind.
Okay, so terrain really shapes the airflow. And wake turbulence. Hear about that with big planes.
Exactly. It's the turbulent air swirling behind an aircraft, especially big, heavy ones, caused by the lift they're generating. These vortices can be powerful and hang around for minutes. For a small drone, flying into that wake can cause a sudden loss of control. Very dangerous.
So stay well clear the flight paths of larger aircraft, especially near airports.
Absolutely crucial. Give them a wide berth. Now, what about lift associated with big weather systems like fronts?
That's frontal lift. Happens at the boundary between different air masses, cold fronts, warm fronts.
Warmer, lighter air gets forced up over colder, denser air, creates upward motion, often clouds and precipitation, too.
Right. And then there's mechanical turbulence. How's that different from the convective thermal kind?
Mechanical turbulence is caused by wind flowing over obstacles on the surface. Rough ground, buildings, trees.
Creates friction, eddies, gusts near the ground, whereas convective is purely heat-driven vertical movement. Gotcha. So ground obstacles versus uneven heating. And back to terrain, that orographic lift, how does it affect an RPAS flight specifically?
Well, those updrafts on the windward side of hills can push your drone upwards unexpectedly.
Makes it harder to maintain a steady altitude or flight path, especially if it's windy near hills. You need to anticipate that lift.
Good point. Now, drones have stabilizers, obviously. Horizontal for pitch, vertical for yaw, any other aerodynamic bits that help.
Yeah, quite a few interesting ones show up. Canards, those little wings up front, can help with pitch control and maneuverability on some designs. Wing dihedral wings, angled slightly up, adds roll stability. Very common. And hedral wings, angled down, does the opposite, makes it more maneuverable, less stable, seen on some performance aircraft.
Okay.
Winglets at the wingtips. They mostly reduce drag, but also help a bit with roll stability. And maybe the biggest one for modern drones, the flight controller software itself, using gyros, accelerometers, barometers. It's constantly making tiny adjustments for stability, like a digital autopilot.
So a lot of stability comes from the software and sensors now, not just the physical shape.
Absolutely. It's a huge part of how they fly so smoothly. Okay, wow, we have covered a massive amount of really vital info here. Radiotelephony, human factors, air law, airspace, basic aero, and weather.
Indeed. We've really hit the key points. Clear communication, understanding yourself with IMSAFE, knowing your environment with situational awareness, following the rules, knowing the airspace, and respecting the physics of flight and weather, all essential for responsible RPS pilots.
It really drives home that flying these things safely is way more than just working the controls, isn't it? It's about understanding the whole system, the rules, the environment, and, yeah, knowing your own limits.
Exactly. Which brings us to a final thought for you, the listener. Considering how fast RPS tech is evolving and how they're fitting into the airspace more and more, what do you think will be the most critical skill for drone pilots in the future? Beyond just the stick and rudder skills, so to speak.
Something to think about. We definitely encourage you to keep exploring aviation safety resources, keep learning. This field is changing fast.
That's a wrap on today's mission, Commander. See above, go beyond, get ahead. For more training, tools, and intel, head to skycommander.ca. If you learned something new, share it, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star debrief.